with Sheriff Edwards at this point, if that's okay with everybody. And Mr. Edwards, you can come and talk to us. We appreciate it. Welcome this morning.
Well,
Threw me off the stride there.
sorry about that.
That's all right.
We just had court starts at 9:30. I went and said hi right quick and come back down here.
Glad you came. Thank you.
Y'all got the letter Judge Gregory issued. We've been having courthouse security meetings for I don't know how many years, and Judge Gregory said he didn't want to demand that we have security there, but if he had to, he was going to order it. So that puts us, me, and all y'all in the bind.
We just probably talk with you a little bit about it,
Yeah.
as far as the needs and
Yeah.
how you might use the deputies and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
just that.
I really don't know what the folks will have, but folks will have any questions or have some dialogue with the sheriff.
Well,
Commissioner Dave?
why would you need two vehicles if they're gonna be stationed at the courthouse?
Well, you're gonna have to use them, when we use them courthouse, you're not gonna have enough hours in for them to, just be at the courthouse. So the reason you need two is you got vacation and sick leave and everything else in there. So you're gonna have vehicles, they're gonna work in the county just like they're gonna work at the courthouse. When they're not at the courthouse, they're gonna be working in the county.
Well, I think all of us, as you, feel an obligation here to pay attention to what Judge Gregory had to say. I was thinking about some possibilities, and I want to apologize, I haven't been in touch with you before this, but looking over the numbers, and just some of the thoughts that I had and some possible questions would be, if there was a possibility of, I understand that there were two deputies involved, is that what you're saying? Is that gonna be their sole job? So what I was gonna say is, if it was, then if we could maybe explore even a different pay grade or a possibility along those lines.
No, that'd be regular deputies.
Okay.
Well, I tried to get, when we had some meetings, I tried to use volunteers for the security up there, but the judge didn't like that idea much. He wanted sworn officers that carried firearms in that position.
So, in other words, whomever is put on that, they would be interchangeable, I assume, with all the other deputies?
Yes, it'd be the same.
Well, that being the case, could we look at a possibility of maybe one, and if they are interchangeable, if we had one, would that maybe be one person on duty, every second week? Would that be 10 days?
What do you,
If we hired one more, would that give you 10? Is that my understanding?
that wouldn't be enough to, I'm having to take somebody else from other duties that they have to do right now. I don't have enough help is the way it is now, and that would be taken away from their other duties.
Right. Like I say,
I'm still gonna have to send the deputy over for lunch and stuff like that, because they can't work, straight through working on breaks.
Anyone else?
not at this time.
Taking this very serious. It is next to an order. It's request in this letter is the language, but I understand that it is an order next, and the order is to request this action be taken by the first day of April. So that's on top of us. It's imperative we make some kind of move, or ask for an appeal, one or the other. And, personally, I'm not, I don't understand the need for vehicles. These people, these employees are stationed at the courthouse. They're not to leave their post because it says they are to cover the front door the
No,
whole time.
yeah, they are, but you can't do it with just one person. I'm gonna use them as deputies when they're off, cause I could get 40 hours in with them.
But our order is to cover the front door
Yeah.
of the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do the figures, 9 hours a day times 52 weeks, and that would include some vacation time as
Mhm.
well. Could we not do this with 3 half-time employees and cover it better? Because we need to look at the bottom dollar. I
Well-
don't see the need for vehicles because these people are posted at, and I understand you may use them interactively with your other duties. But 3 half-time people would more than cover the courthouse, which is our order.
Well, yeah, but where are you gonna find 3 half-time deputies?
That would be your job, sir.
I know, I mean, where are you gonna find them?
I don't know.
I
That's
mean-
not my knowledge, but,
That's what I'm saying, I don't think you can. I like the idea, but it's like I said, I try to get part-time people up there. I mean, you know, but they want a gun carrying deputy.
I would think this would be an excellent job for retired folks.
They're gonna have to go to school and
Yes,
get their BLET.
yes.
Well, they're gonna have to do all this running and everything. It's not just you go to school. You gotta be real good physical condition to pass it. I don't know where you're gonna find people to do that.
If you cover the total number of hours required at the courthouse, it's 1.2 full-time positions.
Yes.
And you're asking for 2 full-time positions. So that's in excess of what we're being ordered to do.
Well, yes, I was gonna use the .8 for the sheriff's office.
Um, That's how I feel.
Oh, I
I
understand
feel
that.
like we're stewards of the county's tax dollar,
We are.
and that's how we could do this most cost effectively.
Oh, I agree with you. But you're gonna have trouble finding them. I agree with you 100%, but having to find people that's certified, that carry a gun, can carry a gun, be certified law enforcement officers, you're not gonna find them.
And I have another question. Is 8 to 5, this is what we're ordered, but is that the total hours of the courthouse
Yeah.
being open?
Yeah.
So it will not occur ever to be open after 5?
No.
Okay.
Anyone else? I'm sorry, we do have another meeting this month, I just want, on 31st. So just remind folks of that we have a meeting in conjunction with the town. Anyone else, Larry, Commissioner Davis, Commissioner DeRoe?
Well, excuse me, but with that meeting at the end of March, would that be an opportunity for, I know Mr. Davis is on this, the courthouse, what do you call it? Security board or whatever, would it be an opportunity for perhaps Mr. Davis, you and a couple of folks from your department, maybe Mr. Adams and Mrs. Gamble if need be, to sit down and maybe explore some of these possibilities before the 31st?
Yeah, I'll do anything, yeah.
Would that be acceptable to,
That would be acceptable.
that would give the committee maybe time to explore a couple of, I mean, we're talking, I think it was $163,000.
A lot of money.
And, there may be some options out there that we haven't thought of yet, I don't know.
Hey, as long as we get Judge Gregory happy,
Well,
you know. Fine with me.
So you're suggesting that we make our final decision at, what date, Mr.
well,
Cox?
Well, I just said that's an option. That would be the 31st,
I would say
Monday the 31st.
our joint meeting.
Yeah, either that or have a call meeting. But, one thing I haven't heard, I heard 2 deputies, I heard 1.2. There's another option of 1.5, I suppose. Throw that out, I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but I did just want to say,
Oh, yeah.
possibility of 1 full-time and 1 part-time.
However y'all wanna work it out is fine with me.
Well,
But,
I
you
haven't
know,
heard anybody
to
say.
get a certified law enforcement officer
Yeah.
to work part-time, you know, every day, gonna be, or 3, it's gonna be tough. I
Retired,
still got the certification.
yeah, a retired person would have to go back. Could you tell me a little bit about that, Sheriff, about, they'd have to go back to school? Because I know, I
It
have
takes about 5 months.
okay, I have a friend who works with the Ashe County Sheriff's Department, so technically, he's retired.
Yeah.
So, but he,
Yeah, you just have to go to school and do the PT, physical exercise, which is, you know, gonna be tough.
Do you have part-time employees now as deputies?
No.
No. And also, in this calculation, is it true, Superior Court has deputies already on task at the courthouse? Is it
Has-
Superior Court?
Deputies, yes.
So,
That's overtime.
right, so that's included in this calculation. How many weeks? How many weeks do we have Superior
It
Court
can change.
at the
Like now, it's,
least?
Superior Court
Uh-huh.
would be, right now it's like 4.
4 weeks. So we
A
can
year.
subtract 4 weeks off this calculation, so that's even less time than what we talked about. That's a month.
No, I don't know, I'm using a regular deputy now.
Yes, but we're covering it is what my point is.
Yeah,
is that the bailiff?
no,
No,
It is not.
I have to, well, there's 3 I have to use right now, it's one at the front door, one for grand jury duty, and the bailiff, you got 3, 3 different people you have to use doing Superior Court race.
I'd like to squeeze the blood out of the room
I know,
and save some money.
yeah, I agree,
and David, you have 9 deputies now?
yeah, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, before we end, I do want to just submit some information. A couple things, I did send a letter to Sheriff Edwards, a couple things about the grade issue. I did make some phone calls and simply put, what the sheriff is asking for a deputy for these positions. I do believe it's Judge Gregory's intent that he wanted armed personnel there. Pretty much what I've seen, just confirming what Sheriff Edwards is saying, if they carry a gun, it's the same grade, basically. I mean, meaning I've seen in other jurisdictions that if you're wanting a sworn deputy in there that actually can carry a gun, then generally speaking, whether they're sitting at the courthouse or somewhere else, it's pretty much the same grade. So I'm confirming what Sheriff Edwards is saying, it needs to be the same grade. As far as the number of hours, and Sheriff Edwards, just correct me if I'm wrong, what I've done is if you go through 4 Superior Court weeks, and you went 5 days a week, that's 20 days. You go 1 court a week, 52 weeks, that's 52 days. You go 1 extra court a month, that's 12 extra days a year. Real quickly, you're up to 84 days in a year, and this is being outside of what can happen. 10 days of vacation, 10 days of sick, you're about 104 days in which, what I would recommend to this board, and I'm sure the sheriff would agree, what I'm talking about is above and beyond the full-time person that has to sit there. Because you're talking about a full-time person, or at least the amount of hours Monday through Friday. So the 104 days are the days that I'm talking about that would require two people. Sheriff Edwards, I don't want to speak for you, but on court days and things of that nature, you do need more than one person sitting there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I describe 104 days, I'm describing 104 days above and beyond the full-time person that has to sit there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I think I've stated to the board before, and last time Sheriff Edwards here, I always come up with about 0.4. So that's where I come up between the 0.4 and the 0.5 position, so that's where I'm talking about. It's very easily you can come up with about 1.4 to 1.5 positions. Quite honestly, just y'all bear with me. All I'm gonna try to do, Sheriff, is frame the discussion. Right now, the board may not be aware, but deputies, they run 12-hour shifts, correct? All right. So, you know, one of the main discussions that has to be held, or I'm trying to frame up the discussions, is this new deputy position, if it's gonna be a 12-hour shift, or it's gonna be a Monday through Friday 8 to 5 shift. That really plays into your conversation. And again, folks, I'm just trying to frame up, I'm gonna try, in my opinion, this really comes down to basically a couple of decisions here. One is Sheriff Edwards, when we talk about two full-time positions, I think your intention would be for them to be on 12-hour shifts, correct? All right, and so then your intention with the two full-time position would be to just pretty much integrate them with the other 12-hour shifts?
Yeah.
Okay, and so what happens on the 12-hour shifts, the idea being is that when you're looking at the equipment and things of that nature, that pretty much you would have the option of putting any of your deputies at any Monday through Friday at any given time in the front of that building. So that would give you the two things. I would think the justification behind that would be to increase just law enforcement presence in the community, at the same time taking care of courthouse security. So that would be the justification behind the two full-time employees and things of that, and then all the equipment, things of that nature. Now, to me, the other opposite conversation is we're trying to be, if you're trying to spend less money. And the less money option that I would throw out there is that you don't consider Sheriff, I won't call you Squeak, Sheriff Edwards, what Sheriff Edwards is attempting to do is make it integrated, and you go back to just trying to save money, or trying to go at a lesser cost option. The lesser cost option, I would agree with Sheriff Edwards. I mean, I think you'll have a hard enough time getting part-time. I would agree that it would require at least a full-time employee, and then you'd have to somehow or another cover that half-time, the 0.4 to 0.5 position. I don't want to use conservative, but probably the least expensive option would be talking about a position that's an 8 to 5. This doesn't take in consideration what you're attempting to do of switching everybody out. Would be the 8 to 5 position, then you would still have to figure out how to cover those court days where you would need extra personnel. All those days I just described where you would need a day, or excuse me, a half position of extra personnel. So ultimately, if you're talking about an 8 to 5 position without vehicles, things of that nature, what that does is you're only talking about the security at the courthouse, and then you have to try to talk about supplementing the part-time income. And the sheriff, I know the sheriff's saying it'd be difficult to find part-time, but supplementing the part-time to basically try to cover just the courthouse itself. So I'm gonna end it right here. Ultimately, I think it's all the way from just trying to provide personnel for the courthouse only, or looking at it in a bigger scope and adding two full-time deputies fully equipped that can be interchangeable with all the other deputies. And that's the difference in the money. I mean, that's the difference in the justification and difference in the money from the 163 fully equipping them to trying to get down to one person with a half person without all the benefits and without the vehicles. And so, Mr. Chairman, that's to me, Commissioner Smith, you had mentioned that maybe we meet afterwards and then try to get something prepared for the March 31st meeting. Sheriff Edwards, that's where I'm gonna be with it. I mean, to me, the choices for the commissioners are try to fund you just for the courthouse. That's an 8 to 5 full-time position that I would recommend, and then some type of part-time supplement, and you would still have to equip all these people, but they wouldn't have vehicles, things of that nature, all the way to 2 full-time deputies on 12-hour shifts, fully equipped to be integrated with your staff. And ultimately, at minimum, is what I just described, full-time and half-time position without vehicles. They still have to have guns and they still have to have all that other equipment, all the way up to 2 full-time people, vehicles, 12-hour shifts, fully integrated. And I think that's what it, in my mind, that's really the 2 choices that are here. Sheriff Edwards, I think if we win anything less than the full-time position and start supplementing, I believe I heard you say that you just don't feel like you could do it with part-time staff, correct? Okay. Yeah.
And one thing I think, we have to keep in mind really what the role of county government is. The role of county government really is to protect the citizens, or one of the roles, protect the citizens and the taxpayers. In essence, that's what this is doing. I mean, obviously, we need security at the courthouse, we should have it. To do it with part-time people and try to fill in, and even on court days, we're taking away then from deputies that are out there performing their normal job, which is protecting the citizens of Alleghany County. And no, I don't like spending money. I think I've made that very clear, but yes, we have to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, but a lot of times this board makes decisions that, where we're not good stewards. And that's where the money can come from. I mean, there's things really that we're spending money on in this county that we have no business spending money on that. This, we need to spend money on. And this is something we should do. And to do it, half-heartedly, with part-time people or, without vehicles, that's not doing justice to the citizens of Alleghany County.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
And I don't mean to get us off in the weeds, but I don't know the answer exactly. The clerk holds court, or type of court, does she not, Ms. Gannon?
Yes.
How often is that? And is there anybody there to protect the
No.
money with her?
No. No, she has incompetent hearings and stuff like that. Nobody there.
So these are times when people could get pretty upset. She's there by herself.
Right.
The other thing is, the doors, the back door and the side door.
Mm-hmm.
We have a person at the front.
Mm-hmm.
What's gonna happen with the back door
They're locked.
and the side door?
They're locked.
All the time?
Yeah. They will be.
Okay.
Are people allowed to come in those back doors?
If you got a button,
We have that.
some way you get in.
We have to move one down to the basement if they're having something down there and something up
That's a good question, Larry. See, tomorrow, we have district court tomorrow, and superior court all week, and district court tomorrow, so I have to have another person from the courtroom downstairs tomorrow. No, I don't,
We're normally doing that now.
Huh?
Are we normally doing that now,
what's that?
having one at the back?
We have to have a bailiff for both court?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to make clear what my feelings are. I am serious about fulfilling the judge's request / orders. And we are ordered only to cover that front door.
Mm-hmm.
We are not ordered to supply extra deputies.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I would love to give you 3 or 4 more, and that would be more coverage for the county. And it is not my intention to be so tight with our money to make a dangerous situation. I'm just trying to be a good steward of our county money.
No, I understand.
That's it, that is our order. It is to cover the front door.
And the point is to figure out how to cover that front door effectively without jeopardizing the security of other areas. The other doors worry me. They do,
Well, I know,
you know.
but they'll be locked, and the only person get in is courthouse personnel. They're locked right now, I mean, they're all locked down. We just got the metal detector and stuff in the front door.
And I know how people, I don't know human beings that well, but some, I know their inclination is, well, I'm just going out that door, I'm gonna stick a.
Oh, something behind you.
I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
But if that was the case, doesn't it after a while, does an alarm sound if that,
I don't think so.
it does not? And the only other thing I was wondering about, there are panic buttons
Yes,
in the courthouse.
yes.
So there has been up to this point some security measures that have been taken.
Yes.
Again, I would just suggest that we have our representative and some other representatives that might look at all these options and solve our problem. I'm reluctant to do anything beyond that today.
Well, I know other counties, I know Ashe County has, I think, full-time front door security.
Wheels, jack, and all of that.
I've been in that one several times, and he just
I think
basically says, you have it in the house.
Yeah, I think we're only one in the 23rd district, though.
And then Wilkes does, and
Yeah,
Yakin does. Surrey,
actually.
Surrey,
I did a real quick interesting survey, just out of curiosity, and I only got 26 county responses, but 26, 21 said yes, 5 said no. Interesting enough, Surrey County doesn't.
does not.
And it was kind of come down to this conversation. My understanding, what was explained to me, was it come down to funding and the sheriff requesting additional deputies to cover it, and it wasn't done, and so it was interesting that Surrey County is not in the 23rd judicial district, but doesn't, but all of the counties in 23rd does, but, you know, that's not rocket, I mean, out of the 26, 5 didn't, 21 did. I'd be curious from a statewide standpoint, but just for your information. Guys, and ultimately, framing this question up, ultimately what would come back, because I want to make sure what I'm going to come back to this board with, is what my plans are, would be to sit down with the sheriff and Larry and whoever wants to sit down, and the two budgets that I'm talking about putting together would be the budget in regards to 2 fully integrated deputies, as discussed, versus the budget of a full-time with supplemental part-time and things of that nature. And there is a significant difference between those two numbers. And that would be what I would bring back to present to this board to discuss. I think the sheriff, I think Sheriff Edwards, just giving more thought to, when we sit down individually in regards to, you've just heard this, so I'm not requesting you to respond to it now, but just response to, if we went straight to a full-time deputy that's 8 to 5 there, and then try to supplement it with part-time, what would be the counter response to that kind of conversation? Because all that it's doing is just looking directly at the courthouse itself and trying to give you resources for that. It doesn't talk about vehicles. It's basically one full-time person equipped and trying to get part-time on to help supplemental and providing equipment for them. And not, unless you're ready to, something to just be able to respond to that. And then, because really the justification between the two is we're talking about the difference of, guys, I just ran it, you're talking about annual cost of around $62,000 versus annual cost of excuse me, of around, 82, somewhere in there. So annual cost is around $20,000 difference between the two scenarios, two full-time versus, a full-time and a half-time. And then you're talking about the cost of the vehicles. That's the difference. I'm trying to go ahead and pinpoint us into what we're really talking about. And so the real question is the extra $20,000+ a year plus the cost of two vehicles, does the ability to integrate and change out the deputies and then also provide additional security to the county, does that justify that additional cost versus the 60,000 versus the 80,000 plus the equipment? And ultimately, Sheriff Edwards, when we sit down, those are just exact budgets, and those would be the two alternatives that I would present to the commissioners.
Sheriff, I just want to say, you know, we want to support our school security and we worry about our kids. But I think we also ought to worry about folks coming to court, coming safely and come without fear. Because emotions do run high. And we need to remember that, so let's support as best we can and comply with the judge's order, request. And, we are very best on this, so we'll.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for
Y'all have a good-
taking the time. Thank you. So, do we need to vote on tabling that or just move it?
The only thing I think you need to decide is if you're gonna bring this back up at the, March 31st meeting, would be to either meet before or after. I think that joint meeting's scheduled for, 7 PM, and then you either have a special call meeting or you can just recess this meeting until then. And if you recess this meeting till then since it was on the agenda and discussed, then you can just bring this
The
call.
meeting with the town is at 7.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna throw this out, would it be okay to recess this meeting at the end and meet at 6 o'clock? Meet at 6 o'clock on the 31st,
You need a motion?
continue. Do we need a motion on that?
I think at the end of it, yeah, you do a motion at the end of the meeting to reset, if you're gonna recess it,
Okay.
instead of adjourning, you do a motion to recess to that.
Okay.